What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Barber Shop. I know it's been a little while since our last episode, but today I wanted to talk to you about some interesting facts that I learned from historyofyesterday.com. Now, before we get too far, as always, I'm enjoying a Bud Light Lime today. Being from the state of Missouri, Anheuser-Busch is a big provider of locally sourced brew, and honestly, it's light. I mean, Bud Light is the name, but boy howdy, it's kind of like sex in a canoe, fucking next to water. Thank you to the founder of Sam Adams Beer for a great joke that I've learned from him. Moving on, today I wanted to review an old school little ditty that turned into an app that a lot of people may have enjoyed called Dumb Ways to Die. Now, there's also a second Dumb Ways to Die little app that you can find on most iPhone and Android app stores that originally came from Melbourne, Australia's Trains Metro, I believe is the name of the company. Back in 2012, they did a public service announcement in the form of this little cartoon with this little jaunt about their dumb ways to die. Pretty entertaining little goof, nice little tidbits there, and it's a cute little game. Have fun. You can also look up the original little cartoon and jingle on YouTube. There are updated ones, but if you find any from roughly sometime, I think it was like November 2012, you should be able to find the OG, and it is hilarious. Leading into that, I want to talk about a couple of people that have died in horribly stupid, dumb manners. The first I want to talk to you about is Hans Steininger. I'm probably going to mispronounce a majority of these names. Bear with me. He died from his own beard. In Brunnen am Inn, somewhere in Austria, I believe, he was the mayor of that little town in the 16th century with a fantastic 4.5-foot beard. For those of you that do not use feet or inches, it was 137 centimeters. He usually kept his excess beard in his pocket when he would run around, and on that fateful night, full of fright, in September 1567, an intense fire set everyone running for their lives. However, during the mad scramble, the good mayor's pocket beard came loose, set flapping in the wind, which caused him to trip headlong down a flight of stairs, snapping his neck. Even though it was originally going to be a case of severe trauma to his spine and a severance of his spine at his neck breaking, which is what killed him, the beard itself was the catalyst, and therefore he died from his own beard. Being a bearded man, that's a little horrifying. Now, my beard is nowhere near that long, even at the longest I've had. But, boy, that would just be marvelous to see. Not the dying part, but the 4.5-foot long beard. Boy, you talk about goals and dreams and aspirations. Next up, I want to talk about a man by the name of Tikko Brah. He was an astronomer of Danish descent. However, in the later years, in roughly 1597, he upset the King of Denmark by being impolite, and he was banished to Prague. In Prague, he was invited to a full-course banquet, which at the time of my research, I could only find it being roughly a minimum of 5 courses. Not the banquet he attended, but a banquet in general is at a minimum 5 courses. So, not quite sure how long this banquet was that he attended, but it was it had its own issues with its time and in length. During the banquet, he needed to use the restroom. He needed to pee. However, upon being banished from his home of Denmark for his impoliteness, he was petrified that his asking to excuse himself would result in upsetting and being considered rude or impolite of his hosts, and therefore he held it and waited a minimum of 5 courses. I have no idea exactly, again, how long the length of the banquet was, but minimum 5 full forms of meals he had to sit through. Oh my God, I can only imagine the agony of, it's one thing to hold it knowing you've got like 20 miles to an exit when you're in the vehicle, but woo! So he held it for so long, his bladder bred multiple infections, causing him to be unable to relieve himself in pee. Due to the overall blockage and lack of modern medicine, it was the infections in his bladder that spread through his body and eventually killed him. Next time you have to pee, just go pee. apologize later. Let him know, hey, I didn't want to go out like my man Brah. Moving on, our next idiotic death belongs to Jean-Baptiste Lilly. He was a Frenchman born in Italy who was an accomplished musician and dancer. Lilly was so talented of a composer that King Louis XIV made Lilly the royal family music master. In 1660, after King Louis was recovering from a surgery, Lilly had composed and was conducting a celebratory symphony using a common staff made of metal, rather than the more aptly noticed batons used in today's society by conductors. While pounding a staff along the podium floor in order to keep time for his symphony, Lilly punctured his foot with the staff, causing an injury which bred a massive infection. Unfortunately, on this list, yes, the majority of deaths are infection-related. However, thank you to modern medicine for being better than basically no medicine, or black magic-y plague doctor medicine, where they just would stuff you full of posies so you wouldn't stink. Moving on, getting back to our man Lilly. So, the foot infection was so bad that doctors of any kind recommended that he have his foot and leg amputated in order to save his life. Believing that he would be able to just brush this off, he waved off the offer of amputation in order to make sure that he would successfully be able to return to his career as a dancer after the infection cleared. And dance he did, right into a grave, as the infection spread through the remainder of his entire body, basically sending him into a septic shock that killed him. The next previously deceased is a man named Sam Wardle. He was a lamplighter in New York in the 1880s. Now, lamplighters were people that would get up extremely early in the morning in order to go snuff out the lamps that they had lit the night prior. As dusk would fall, lamplighters would go out with a long torch and light the whale oil lamps along the city walls, along the city streets. And then they would have to set up their alarms to wake themselves up very early in the morning before dawn in order to properly extinguish those lamps. Sounds like a real shit job. I mean, up at the ass crack of dawn and out late as shit. Man, I don't know what kind of life you have. But he had a small life, as he was a little bit of an inventor. He created a alarm clock of his own that was attached to what was noted as a 10-pound stone. Now, sincerely, this was apparently a straight-ass 10-pound rock that he had attached to a string strong enough that would successfully pull the alarm clock off of the wall-mounted shelf that it would rest upon, causing it to roll away from him, forcing him to wake up, so that he would have to get up to turn off the alarm. And once he was on his feet, he believed he would be more apt to stay awake. So that seemed to work for quite a while. His alarm would go off, the rock would shake, rattle, and fall, and then he would have to proceedingly get up, turn it off, go ahead, be dressed, and head out for the secondary part of his job to snuff out the lamps that he had lit that night. One faithful year, he decided to have himself a Christmas party with a couple of close friends. I'm not exactly sure of the actual abode in which he dwelled. However, it must have been fairly cramped because he had to move his bed out of the way in order to properly make room to appease the amount of guests he had. Well, that night, he got so jolly and schnockered that in his drunken state, he moved his bed directly under his shelf that had the alarm clock on it. Was a very unfortunate insight because that evening, I guess early morning, when his alarm clock went off and the rock fell, it fell not to the ground, but through his skull. Just braining his ass right there in bed. And at least he didn't have to suffer a hangover in the morning. I don't really know if that's the best way to go, but it's one way to go. That's for sure. Nevertheless, those were some of the more entertaining ones that I found that didn't involve senseless gang violence of today. They didn't involve just general diseases versus unfortunate mishaps that led to such general diseases. While I still have a little Bud Light Lime left, I would like to raise a toast to all of you listeners to your health, your good fortune, and hopefully your good luck, so that you do not also happen to find yourself on a list of dumb ways that people have died. If you've enjoyed this episode, please message me, comment anything you need on any of the Instagrams or my TikTok or my Snapchat. And let me know if you would like to have any more, because I'm sure I can find further dumb ways people have died. Let me know if you specifically want to hear anything about any kind of an alcohol beverage review. I'm more than happy to try and find some of the beverages that y'all may have tried and try them myself and give them a quick little review. So, and obviously, as I have given my, I don't want to say displeasure, but I'm going to call it lackluster satisfaction, Bud Light's still going to get the job done. I mean, it's still beer, still carbonated, still nummy. Nevertheless, it's not a Sam Adams. It's not a Guinness. But at least I know what I like. So, here's to you all. Skull. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for listening. And always remember that as long as the lights are on and there's beer in the fridge, you will have the barbershop.